Mia Parker sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles turned ghostly white. She had just walked out of the hospital, where she had spent nearly a decade of her life. Laid off. Budget cuts, they said, with no warning, no severance. Just a weak apology and a folder containing her final paycheck. The air outside felt crisp, but her mind was burning with frustration. What was she supposed to do now? Being a nurse wasn't just a job to her. It was her identity. As she fought back tears while driving home, she noticed something strange on the side of the road. A man slumped over near a bus stop, his body completely limp. Without even thinking, her instincts took over. She pulled over the car, threw open the door, and rushed to his side. "Sir, can you hear me?" she asked, shaking his shoulder. There was no response. His breathing was shallow, his pulse weak. A heart attack, she realized. Without a second thought, Mia dropped to her knees and began CPR. Each compression was urgent yet measured, years of training guiding her hands with precision. A small crowd began to form around her. Someone called 911, but Mia didn't stop. "Come on, stay with me," she whispered between compressions, desperately willing him to hang on. After what felt like an eternity, the man suddenly gasped sharply, his eyes fluttering open. Relief flooded through her as the ambulance arrived, the paramedics rushing to take over. One of them, a young woman, looked up and immediately recognized Mia. "Mia, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice full of surprise. "Saving a life," Mia replied simply, brushing her hair back with a shaking hand. As the man was loaded into the ambulance, he weakly grabbed her wrist, his eyes now full of life. They locked onto hers. "You saved me," he murmured, his voice barely audible. Mia smiled gently, her heart swelling. "It's what I do." The following morning, Mia was woken by the sound of her doorbell ringing. Still groggy from the exhaustion of the night before, she stumbled to the door. When she opened it, her breath caught in her throat. Outside, 2 black Rolls-Royces, a Bentley and a sleek Aston Martin were parked in front of her modest home. And standing beside them, dressed in an expensive suit, was the man she had saved. "Mia Parker?" he asked, his smile warm and inviting. She hesitated for a moment, her mind racing. "Yes, I'm Mia Parker. I'm Richard Langford," he continued. "Yesterday, you saved my life. I'm not sure if you recognize me, but..." Her eyes widened in shock. Of course, she knew that name. Richard Langford, the billionaire philanthropist, the owner of several hospitals across the country. "I spent all night thinking about how I could ever repay you," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "And then I heard about what happened at your hospital. It's outrageous that someone like you was let go." He paused for a moment. "So, I'd like to make you an offer." Mia's heart raced. What kind of offer? He motioned toward the luxury cars parked in her driveway. "These aren't here just for show. One of them is yours, a small token of my appreciation. But more importantly, I want you to come work for me." His eyes locked onto hers. "Not just as a nurse, but as the head of a new initiative I'm funding. A foundation dedicated to providing medical care to those in need, no matter their ability to pay." Mia's breath caught in her throat. "Are you serious?" "As serious as the second chance you gave me," he replied, his eyes full of genuine emotion. Tears welled up in her eyes, but this time they weren't born from sadness. She had lost her job, her sense of security, and her purpose. But now, she was on the brink of finding something even greater. With a trembling smile, she nodded. "I'd love to." Richard's face lit up. "Then welcome to the team, Mia." As she looked at the luxury cars, at the man whose life she had saved, and at the new path unfolding before her, Mia realized something important. Sometimes life's harshest setbacks are simply hidden detours leading to something extraordinary. Moral of the story: acts of kindness have a way of returning to us in ways we could never imagine. When you give selflessly, the universe finds a way to reward you tenfold.